All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about two of modern Formula One's biggest technical scandals. This is a world where teams will spend millions just to find a thousandth of a second. And that line between a brilliant idea and straight up cheating, well, sometimes it's almost impossible to see. Everything really kicked off with this. Right at the end of preseason testing in 2020, the FIA drops this bombshell of a statement. It's only 93 words, it's super vague, and they released it at a time they hoped nobody was really paying attention. It confirmed an investigation into Ferrari's engine was over, but the results? A secret settlement. And naturally, that left the entire F1 world asking one simple question. To get to the bottom of that question, we've actually got to rewind the clock a little bit, back to the 2019 season, because something really, really strange was happening with the speed of those red cars. As you can imagine, this incredibly vague announcement sparked an immediate and pretty furious response from Ferrari's rivals. They felt totally blindsided by this news of some kind of private deal. So what happened? Well, 7 teams, that's basically everyone on the grid not powered by a Ferrari engine, they all banded together. They put out this joint statement saying they were, and I'm quoting here, surprised and shocked. Their argument was that a secret deal between one team and the regulator completely undermines the integrity of the whole sport. They wanted answers, and they wanted them now. So what was this whole mess about anyway? Well, it all started with Ferrari's sudden and, to their rivals, completely unbelievable engine performance in the second half of 2019.
Okay, so here's the crucial rule you need to know. To keep horsepower in check, the FIA says fuel cannot flow into the engine any faster than 100 kilograms per hour. That's it. It's a hard limit. And to enforce it, every single car has a standard FIA-issued sensor to measure it. After the 2019 summer break, the Ferrari was just untouchable. It was like a rocket ship on the straights. They pulled off an incredible 6 consecutive pole positions. All the other teams were looking at their GPS data, scratching their heads, just trying to figure out where this massive power advantage was coming from. It just didn't seem possible within the rules.
The suspicion just kept growing, and then, in a classic Formula One move, Red Bull didn't file a protest against Ferrari. No, they were smarter than that. They just wrote a letter to the FIA asking for a clarification. They basically described a hypothetical system that might fool the sensor and asked, hey, would something like this be legal? And the FIA responded with a crystal clear answer. They issued what's called a technical directive, or TD, saying that any device or trick designed to mess with that fuel flow sensor or sneak more fuel in between its measurement pulses was absolutely 100% illegal. And the effect on the track? Well, it was immediate and dramatic.
I mean, the effect was instantaneous. Before that directive in Austin, Ferrari was on that amazing streak of 6 straight pole positions. After it was issued, they didn't get another pole for the rest of the year. Their straight-line speed advantage, it just completely vanished, literally overnight.
And the consequences just bled right into the next season. The 2020 Ferrari car was noticeably down on power. The team just limped home to 6th place in the championship. For a team like Ferrari, that's a disaster. It was their worst result in 40 years. A truly brutal fall from grace. And all of this brings us right to the heart of the matter, and really to the heart of what makes technical competition in Formula One so fascinating. That razor-thin edge between clever engineering and just cheating. This comment from a fan forum just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the two sides of this whole debate. It's not just that you found an advantage, it's how you found it. Did you find a gap in the rulebook, or did you deliberately design something to trick the tools that enforce the rules? So here's the theory, and you gotta admit it's pretty clever. The idea was that Ferrari's system was pulsing fuel into the engine in between the sensor's measurement clicks. So the sensor would report a perfectly legal 100 kilograms per hour, but the actual amount of fuel getting through was higher. See, this wasn't about finding a loophole in the rules. It was about tricking the measurement tool itself. Now, this whole gray area thing, this wasn't exactly new in Formula One, not by a long shot. To really understand the difference in how people saw the Ferrari situation, we have to look at another case. So this earlier saga involved Mercedes. The suspicion was that they were somehow getting tiny amounts of engine oil into the combustion chamber to get a power boost, especially for those super high power qualifying modes they used to call party modes. The way they allegedly did it was ingenious. See, the rules for what chemicals you can put in your fuel are incredibly strict, but the rules for engine oil?
They were much, much looser. So by burning a tiny bit of oil that had power-boosting additives, they could get an extra kick. And since all engines burn a little oil anyway, this was all about exploiting a poorly defined regulation. Okay, so let's put these two side by side, because this is where it gets really interesting. It's all about how these two cases were seen and how they were handled. The Ferrari case was seen as actively tricking a mandatory piece of hardware, which led to that secret deal. The Mercedes case was seen as cleverly exploiting a loophole, which just led to the FIA clarifying and tightening the oil consumption rules for everybody. Big difference.
Which brings us right back to that huge central question that defines so much of Formula One's legendary technical battles.
It's this constant cat and mouse game that makes F1 so fascinating to follow. The engineer's job is to pore over that rulebook and find an advantage in what it doesn't say. And the FIA's job is to close those loopholes as soon as they find them. It's this relentless, brilliant cycle of innovation and regulation.
So what you should really take away from this is that in Formula One, the answer is hardly ever black and white. It's almost always found somewhere in that gray area. Is it genius to find a weakness in the rulebook, or is it cheating to try and beat the very tools meant to keep the playing field level? That's a question the sport will probably be asking itself forever.